paid $5 for a MuteGirl. The coin clinked on the dusty auction block in Dust Creek, Wyoming territory. Late summer 1885. The air was thick with the stench of horse sweat, cheap whiskey, spilled beer, and the sour tang of unwashed bodies. The sun hung high, a white-hot coin in a cloudless sky, beating down on the wooden platform like a hammer on an anvil. The auctioneer, Rufus Red Mallory, a fat man with a red face, sweat-soaked shirt clinging to his belly, and teeth yellowed from years of chewing tobacco, cracked his rawhide whip against the block. Dust exploded in a cloud. "Next lot!" Mute Apache girl, 8 years old, can't talk, can't hear, strong for chores, won't backtalk, won't cry, won't cost you a dime in words. Start at $5, or she goes to the workhouse. The crowd, 23 men in dusty hats, 3 women in calico dresses with bonnets, a dozen barefoot kids with runny noses, laughed like hyenas at a fresh kill. Who wants a silent burden? One spat, spitting a stream of brown tobacco juice into the dirt near the girl's feet. "Better off dead than raising a mute," another muttered, wiping his mouth with a sleeve crusted in trail dust. "She'll rob you blind, or worse, bring bad spirits," a third hissed, crossing himself. The girl stood barefoot in a torn cotton dress, once white, now gray with grime and patched with burlap. Her dark hair hung in tangled ropes down her back. Her eyes, big, black, empty as a dry well, stared straight ahead at nothing. Her hands trembled at her sides, knuckles white, but she didn't cry. She couldn't. Caleb Thorne stepped forward from the back of the crowd. 42 years old, widower. His face was carved deep by sun, wind, and 15 years of loss. His wife, Mary, died birthing their son, both gone in one night, the boy never drawing breath. The grave on the hill behind his ranch was his only family, 2 wooden crosses side by side. He wore a faded brown coat, patched at the elbows with leather, and boots cracked from snow and mud. His beard was graying at the edges. His eyes, storm gray, carried a sadness that never left. He pulled out a worn leather pouch, Mary's old one, soft from years of use, counted 5 silver dollars, each one heavy with memory, each one earned from selling a steer or mending a fence. "She's mine," he said, voice low, steady, cutting through the laughter like a knife through butter. Laughter exploded louder. "Thorne's buying trash," a drunk shouted from the saloon steps, swaying bottle in hand. "That mute'll rob you blind, or worse, curse your land." Another jeered, slapping his knee so hard his hat fell off. "You'll regret it, old man," a third bellowed, pointing a dirty finger. But Caleb didn't flinch. He didn't even look at them. He climbed the 3 creaking steps to the block, knelt in the dust, and lifted the girl down gently, like she was made of glass. She weighed less than a sack of flour, her bones sharp under his hands. Her bare feet touched the hot ground. She stared at his boots, scuffed, cracked, honest. He draped his coat over her shoulders. It swallowed her whole, the hem dragging in the dirt. "No more chains," he whispered, though he knew she couldn't hear. "No more fear." The crowd kept laughing as he led her to his wagon, a weathered flatbed with a canvas top, loaded with sacks of flour, a crate of nails, and a new axe. He lifted her onto the seat. She sat rigid, hands in her lap. He climbed up beside her, took the reins. "Giddy up," he said to Buck and Daisy, the 2 bay horses. The wagon lurched forward, wheels groaning over ruts. Dust Creek faded behind them, saloon, general store, blacksmith, the jeering faces. The ride to the ranch was 40 miles of silence. Snow began to fall in thick, lazy flakes as they climbed into the foothills. The plains stretched endless, golden grass turning white, cottonwood trees bare, a frozen creek glinting like silver. Caleb tried talking anyway, his voice low against the wind. "I'm Caleb Thorne. This is home. 40 acres. Log cabin I built with my own hands. Barn, corral, 3 horses, Buck, Daisy, and Old Gray. He's 20 but still kicks. A cow named Bessie gives good milk. Chickens, 20 of them. You'll have a bed. Real bed. With a quilt Mary made. Blue and white squares, took her a year. Food every day. Safety. No one will hurt you again. I promise." She sat beside him, knees drawn up under the coat, clutching a small slate he'd pulled from the wagon box. An old-school slate, cracked at one corner, with a stub of chalk tied by string. With trembling fingers, she wrote in shaky capital letters, "Hungry." Caleb smiled, the first real smile in 15 years. His eyes crinkled at the corners, lines deep as canyons. We'll fix that soon as we get home. The ranch appeared at dusk, just as the snow thickened. A low log cabin chinked with mud, smoke curling from the stone chimney like a promise. A barn, red paint peeling in curls. A corral with 3 horses watching, ears pricked. A chicken coop. A lean-to for tools. Caleb stopped the wagon, jumped down into ankle-deep snow, lifted her out. Her feet sank. He carried her to the door, kicked it open with his boot. Warmth hit them like a blanket. Fire crackling in the stone hearth. Smell of beef stew bubbling in a cast-iron pot. Cornbread baking in the Dutch oven. He set her on a sturdy oak chair by the fire, the one Mary used to sit in. Ladled thick stew into a tin bowl. Chunks of beef, potatoes, carrots, onions, rich brown gravy. She ate slowly, eyes wide, like she'd never tasted food before. Spoon-scraped bowl. She looked up. Wrote. Good. That night he gave her Mary's old room, small, clean, a narrow iron bed with a straw mattress and the patchwork quilt, blue and white squares, each one a memory. A pine dresser with a cracked mirror, a rag doll Mary had sewn from scraps, button eyes, yarn hair. He lit a kerosene lantern, the flame dancing. This is yours now. All yours. She touched the quilt with trembling fingers, traced the stitches, sat on the bed, wrote on the slate, "Thank you." Then she curled up, still in his coat, knees to chest, and slept. Caleb stood in the doorway a long time watching her breathe. He named her Maitori because she was small, quiet, and tough, like the flower that grows through cracks in the rock. Days turned to weeks, then months. Lily woke before dawn every morning, slipped into an old flannel shirt of Caleb's that hung to her knees like a dress, the sleeves rolled 3 times. She padded barefoot across the cold plank floor to the hearth, stirred the embers, added kindling, got the fire roaring. Then outside, snow crunching under her feet, breath fogging in the icy air. She scattered cracked corn for the chickens, 20 of them clucking and flapping in their coop. Collected warm eggs in a woven basket, 6, 7, sometimes 9. Milked Bessie the cow, sat on a 3-legged stool, worn smooth from years, pulled the teats with strong, steady hands, milk hissing into the tin pail in rhythmic streams. Cleaned the stall, forked manure into a wheelbarrow, spread fresh golden straw that smelled of summer. Swept the cabin floor with a sagebrush broom, dust dancing in sunbeams through the window. Washed dishes in a tin basin with water hauled from the well, pump squeaking like an old man, water so cold it burned. Hung laundry on the clothesline, shirts and trousers snapping in the wind, freezing stiff before they dried. She never spoke, never smiled. But every evening after supper, beans, cornbread, salt pork, she sat by the fire on a small stool, slate on her lap, chalk in hand. Wrote the same 2 words, "Thank you." Caleb read them aloud, voice soft, then hung the slate on a nail by the door. Caleb taught her signs. He'd learned a few from a traveling preacher years back, a kind-eyed man named Reverend Holt who'd worked with deaf children in St. Louis. Caleb practiced in the barn at night, lantern swinging, hands clumsy at first. Water cup to mouth, foot or fingers to lips. Horse hand galloping, sleep, hands under cheek. Home on roof overhead. Lily watched, eyes sharp. First day, she signed water. Perfect. Second day, food. Third, horse home. By the end of the week, her hands flew, graceful, fast, alive. She signed whole sentences. Bessie gave milk today. Chickens laid 8 eggs. Snow falls soft. One evening, after a long day branding calves, smoke, bawling, the smell of burned hair, Lily sat by the fire, slate glowing orange. She signed Violin Sings. Caleb frowned, didn't understand. She wrote on the slate, "The wind sings when I can't." He read it aloud, voice catching in his throat. Sat there long after she went to bed, staring at the flames, the words burning in his mind. Spring came. Snow melted into mud. The creek ran high, brown with runoff. Wildflowers pushed through the grass, yellow, purple, white. Lily, now 10, rode Daisy bareback across the plains, hair flying like a black banner, signing to the sky, to the clouds, to the hawks circling high. She wrote longer poems on the slate. Snow falls like tears I never cry. Stars talk when I listen. The river laughs at my silence. Caleb read them by lantern light, throat tight, voice cracking. He nailed the best ones to the cabin wall with rusty nails. Framed in twine-like pictures, summer brought heat, dust, flies. Lily, 12 now, taller than the fence rail, helped Caleb mend the corral, hammered nails, stretched wire, hands blistered but steady. She learned to shoot, first a slingshot, then a .22 rifle. Hit a tin can at 50 yards. Signed Bangor with a grin, first grin Caleb ever saw. Fall brought harvest. Cut hay with a scythe, stacked it in the loft, sweat soaking her shirt. Winter again. Chopped wood, split logs with an axe heavier than she was, muscles growing under sun-browned skin. Years passed like seasons. Lily grew into a young woman. 15, hair to her waist, braided with a leather thong. Eyes sharp as a hawk's, hands strong, calloused, quick. She could saddle a horse in 30 seconds, rope a calf, brand it, castrate it, all without a word. Neighbors talked. That mute girl of thorns, she's worth 10 men. Strong as an ox, quiet as a ghost. Apache blood, they say. Caleb just nodded, proud. One spring morning in 1892, when Lily was 15, a rider came from Dusk Creek. A boy, 16, freckled on a sway-backed mare, delivered a package wrapped in brown paper tied with string. From the general store, he said, tipping his hat. Caleb signed to her thanks and paid him a nickel. Opened it inside by the fire. A new slate, larger, smoother, with a box of chalk. And a book. Hand signs for the deaf. Lily's eyes lit up. She signed her book. Caleb nodded. That night they studied together, page by page, sign by sign. Friend. Family. Love. Father. She paused between father. Looked at Caleb, signed it slow. He signed back, eyes wet. By 16, Lily spoke with her hands like poetry. She taught the neighbor kids, 3 little ones from the Jensen farm. Sat them on hay bales in the barn, showed them, hello, please, thank you. They giggled, copied. One boy, Tommy, deaf from birth, learned fast. Became her shadow. 17. Lily rode to town alone, 20 miles. Sold eggs, butter, a quilt she'd sewn. Came back with fabric, needles, a new dress pattern. Made herself a dress, blue calico fitted at the waist. Wore it on Sunday. Caleb stared. You look like your mother, he signed, voice thick. She signed, our pretty. He nodded. 18 came quiet. Lily now ran the ranch as much as Caleb. Repaired the windmill when it broke. Fixed the plow. Shot a wolf that came for the chickens, clean through the heart. Hung the pelt on the barn wall. Neighbors called her Ghost Hand. Fast, silent, deadly. One fall evening, after supper, venison stew, biscuits, apple pie from the tree out back. Lily sat by the fire, slate on her lap. Wrote something long, handed it to Caleb. He read, I remember a face. Before the dark, a man with gray eyes, a woman singing, a baby in a cradle, firelight, then hands took me. Rough hands, a wagon, dust, cold. I was 2. The face faded, but not the eyes. Your eyes. Caleb's hands shook. He looked at her. Signed, tell me more. She wrote more, chalk scratching. Jacob. He said his name was Jacob. Said you died. Sold Mom's ring. Took me west. Sold me to a trader in Santa Fe. I remember the ring. Silver, with a blue stone. You gave it to her. Caleb stood, walked to the trunk in the corner. Mary's trunk. Opened it. Pulled out a small velvet pouch. Inside a silver ring, blue stone cracked. He hadn't seen it in 20 years. Lily stared. Touched it. Signed her hers. That night, Caleb didn't sleep. Sat on the porch, rifle across his knees, staring at the stars. Lily sat beside him, silent. After an hour, she signed, Father? He looked at her. Nodded slow. She leaned her head on his shoulder. Winter came early. Snow deep, wind sharp. One night, a knock at the door. A stranger, tall, thin black coat, city hat. Caleb Thorne? Caleb nodded. The man handed him a letter, sealed with red wax. From Denver, lawyer. Rode off into the storm. Caleb opened it by firelight. Lily watched. The letter, Jacob Thorne dead. Shot in Cheyenne. Left a will. And a locket. Caleb's hands trembled as he opened the small box. Inside, a locket. Gold, worn. He clicked it open. A photograph. A baby, a girl. With his eyes. Mary's chin. A birthmark, star-shaped on the left cheek. Lily touched her own cheek. The same mark. She signed, me. Caleb dropped to his knees. Caleb dropped to his knees right there on the pine floor, the locket clattering from his fingers. The fire popped, sending sparks up the chimney. Lily knelt too, picked up the locket, held it to the light. The baby photo stared back, chubby cheeks, dark hair, storm-gray eyes. She touched her own face, traced the star-shaped birthmark on her left cheek. Signed, me. Caleb's hands shook so hard he couldn't sign back. He just nodded, tears cutting clean tracks through the soot on his face from earlier chores. Outside, the blizzard hit like God's own hammer. Wind screamed around the cabin, rattling the shutters, howling down the chimney. Snow piled against the door in drifts. The temperature dropped fast, 20 below, then 30. The horses in the corral stamped and whinnied. Caleb stood, wiped his face with his sleeve. Storm's bad, he signed. Lily nodded, signed farmer note. They both knew. Lightning in winter was rare, but it happened. Caleb grabbed his coat, hat, scarf. Lily did the same. His old coat still fit her like a tent. She pulled on boots 2 sizes too big, stuffed with newspaper. They stepped out into the whiteout. Wind slapped them sideways. Snow stung like needles. Visibility 0. Caleb held a lantern high, flame guttering. They fought their way to the barn, 50 yards that felt like 50 miles. Inside, the horses were frantic. Buck reared, eyes rolling white. Daisy kicked the stall. Old Gray stood trembling. Bessie the cow lowed deep and mournful. Caleb hung the lantern on a nail, started calming them. Hand on neck, low voice, even though Lily couldn't hear. She moved fast, opened stall doors, led Daisy out first, then Buck. Gray followed. They herded the animals toward the lean-to attached to the cabin. Safer, closer. Then, crack. Blue-white lightning split the sky. Struck the barn roof dead center. Wood exploded. Flames shot up instantly. Dry hay, dry timber, years of dust. The fire roared like a living thing. Heat blasted their faces. Caleb shouted, useless. Lily grabbed his sleeve, pointed to the sky, another bolt coming. They ran, slipping in snow, animals bolting ahead. They made it to the lean-to. Caleb slammed the gate. The barn was fully engulfed now. Orange inferno against black sky. The roof collapsed with a thunderous crash. Sparks flew hundreds of feet, carried by wind. The heat melted snow in a circle around the ruin. Caleb and Lily stood panting, faces red from cold and fire. The horses huddled, tails to the wind. Bessie pressed against the fence. Lily signed all safe. Caleb nodded, but his eyes were on the burning barn. Everything gone. Tools, saddles, hay for winter. The plow, the wagon, his life's work. They stumbled back to the cabin, snow to their knees. Inside, warmth hit like a blessing. Caleb collapsed in his chair by the fire. Lily peeled off wet coats, hung them on pegs. She stoked the fire, added 3 logs, then sat on the floor in front of Caleb, slate in hand. Wrote fast. Jacob took me. I was 2. You were gone hunting. He came at. Night. Mom screamed. He hit her. Took me in a sack. Sold. Mom's ring in Santa Fe. Said you died. Sold me to... Traitor. Traitor sold me to Rufus. I remember your face in dreams. Always your eyes. Caleb read it. Once, twice, his hands went to his face. Shoulders shook. Silent sobs. Lily crawled forward, put her arms around his waist, head on his knee. He stroked her hair, wet, smoky, tangled. Signed a daughter. She looked up. Signed, father. They sat like that till the fire burned low. Outside, the storm raged on. Inside, something shifted. Grief to recognition. Stranger to family. Morning came gray and still. The blizzard had passed, leaving 3 feet of fresh snow. The barn was a black skeleton, smoke curling from ashes. Caleb and Lily stood in the doorway, breath fogging. The horses nickered softly. Bessie chewed her cud. All alive. Caleb signed, we rebuild. Lily nodded. Signed, trying together. Word spread fast. By noon, neighbors arrived. 10 families on sleds, horses, foot. The Jensens, the McCoys, Old Man Whitaker with his mule team. They brought lumber, nails, shingles, food. Men assessed the damage. Women set up a cook fire in the snow. Coffee, beans, biscuits. Kids built snowmen. Rebuilding started immediately. Men sawed logs, hammered frames. Lily worked beside them, carried beams, held nails, climbed the rising walls like a squirrel. Her hands flew in signs. Roof high like hope. The men laughed, copied the sign. 7 days later, the new barn stood, taller, stronger, painted red with paint donated by the general store. A barn-raising dance followed. Fiddles, accordion, whiskey, roast pig on a spit. Lanterns hung from rafters. Caleb stood on a hay bale, raised a tin cup. Signed and spoke, "To Lily, my daughter, my savior. Cheers." Lily blushed. Signed. "Thanks." That night, under the new rafters, Caleb handed her a hammer. Shiny, new, bought with the last of his savings. "Your turn." First nail in the new barn. The crowd quieted, 50 souls, breath held. Sun setting behind the mountains, painting everything gold. Lily raised the hammer high, looked at Caleb, then, clear as a bell, strong as thunder, sweet as a lullaby. "Dad." The hammer fell. Clang on nail, sharp, true. Men roared. Women sobbed. Fiddles stopped mid-note. Caleb dropped to his knees in the sawdust, arms open. Lily knelt too. Hugged him fierce. Signed, "I love you," against his chest, fingers spelling it fast. The crowd erupted, clapping, stomping, tears everywhere. Someone started singing Amazing Grace. Others joined. Lily stood, signed the words in perfect rhythm. The barn shook with sound and love. Years later, the ranch thrived. Lily taught sign language to town kids every Saturday. Married Tom, a deaf boy from Cheyenne, strong, kind, laughed with his hands. Had a daughter, born talking from day one. Named her Mary. Caleb lived to 70, died peaceful in his sleep, Lily's hand in his. His grave on the hill had 3 stones now. His wife, his son, and a third, carved deep. Lily Thorne, daughter savior. He paid $5 for a mute girl. Fate gave him a daughter, and one word that changed everything. The barn-raising night burned into legend. Folks talked about it for years, how the mute girl spoke her first word, how Caleb Thorne dropped to his knees like a man reborn. Dust Creek had seen miracles before, but nothing like this. Spring turned to summer. The new barn stood proud, red paint gleaming, rafters strong enough to hold 100 dances. Lily, now 18, moved different. Shoulders back, chin high. She wore the blue calico dress she'd sewn, hem-brushing new boots Caleb bought in town. Neighbors brought gifts, quilts, canned peaches, a rocking chair carved by Old Man Whitaker. Lily taught sign language every Saturday in the barn loft. 10 kids at first, then 20. Little Tommy Jensen, deaf since birth, sat front row, eyes shining. She showed them. Hello, friend, family, love. They copied, giggled, signed back. Parents watched from the ladder, tears in their eyes. She's an angel, Mrs. McCoy whispered. Apache angel, Mr. Jensen corrected, proud. One July afternoon, a rider came from Cheyenne. Tall boy, 19, broad shoulders, sun-bleached hair, deaf, name, Tom Harlan. Worked on a ranch, son of a preacher. Heard about Lily from a traveling salesman. Rode 3 days to meet her. Caleb met him at the gate, rifle across his arm. Not threat, just habit. Tom dismounted, signed slow. I am Tom. Heard of Lily. Want to learn. Caleb studied him. Honest eyes, calloused hands, gentle smile. Lowered the rifle. Signed, come. Tom stayed a week. Slept in the hayloft. Helped with chores. Fixed the windmill. Shod gray. Mended the corral. Lily watched from the fence, signing fast with Tommy. Tom signed back, perfect fluid. They talked for hours without a sound. One evening, sunset painting the plains gold, Tom found Lily by the creek. She was skipping stones, hands flashing. He signed, You are beautiful. She blushed, signed, You are kind. He pulled a small wooden box from his pocket, carved himself. Inside, a ring. Simple silver band, scratched with a tiny star. Lily stared. Signed up for me? Tom nodded. Knelt in the grass. Signed, Will you marry me? She didn't answer with hands. She spoke, second word ever, soft but clear. Yes. Caleb stood on the porch, watching. Smiled so wide his face hurt. The wedding was September. Whole town came, 60 souls under a sky bluer than Mary's quilt. Barn decorated with wildflowers, lanterns, bunting sewn by the ladies. Reverend Holt returned, older, grayer, but eyes bright. He spoke and signed the vows. Lily walked down the aisle on Caleb's arm. Dress white now, lace from Denver, veil from Mrs. Jensen. Tom waited, suit pressed, hands trembling. They faced each other, reverent. Do you, Tom, take Lily to be your wife? Tom signed, "We do." Strong, proud, reverent. Do you, Lily, take Tom to be your husband? Lily looked at Caleb. He nodded, eyes wet. She turned to Tom. Signed, "I do," then spoke, clear, ringing. "I do." Cheers shook the rafters. Fiddles started. Dancing till midnight. Caleb spun Lily once, signed, "We're proud builder." She signed. Father. They built a small cabin behind the main house. 2 rooms, porch, flower boxes. Tom carved the door with their initials, Tuplella. Lily planted lilies along the path. A year later, Mary was born. September again. Labor long, 18 hours. Lily silent through it all, hands gripping the bed frame. Tom held one hand, Caleb the other. When the baby cried, first sound, Lily laughed. Spoke her third word, mine. Mary spoke from day 1. Babble, then words, then sentences. By 2, she signed and spoke. "Grandpa, milk." Caleb melted every time. The ranch grew. 80 acres now, new cattle, a second barn. Lily ran it smooth, signed orders to hired hands, kept books in perfect script. Tom built furniture, tables, cradles, sold in town. Mary ran wild. Pony, chickens, creek. Caleb aged gentle. Hair white, hands arthritic but eyes bright. Sat on the porch every evening, pipe smoking, watching sunset with Lily beside him. She signed stories, old ones, new ones. He signed back, slower now. One spring, Caleb took sick. Fever. Cough that rattled his chest. Doctor from Dust Creek came, said lungs, too many winters. Lily nursed him day and night. Broth, willow bark tea, cool cloths. Tom took over chores. Mary sang by the bed, little voice sweet. On the last night, Caleb called Lily close. Signed weak, "Proud of you, my daughter, always." She signed, "Love you." He smiled, spoke, voice a whisper. My voice. Closed his eyes. Slipped away peaceful, her hand in his. The funeral was on the hill. Whole town again. 3 graves now, Mary his wife, the son never born. And Caleb. Lily carved the stone herself. Caleb Thorne, husband. Father, savior. She stood there after. Mary on her hip, Tom's arm around her. Signed to the wind, "Thank you." Years rolled on. Lily's hair grayed at the temples. Mary grew, tall, strong, married a rancher's son. Had kids of her own. The ranch passed to Tom and Lily, then Mary, then her children. The locket hung in the cabin, passed down, story told every Christmas. Dust Creek became a town. Saloon turned museum. Auction block long gone, but the story lived. The mute girl who spoke love. He paid $5 for a mute girl. Fate gave him a daughter, and one word that changed everything. If silence can speak love, hit like. If family isn't blood, subscribe. Next, $1 for a blind boy who saw ghosts. The ranch never slept, but now it hummed with new life. Lily, 45, silver streaks in her braid like moonlight on water, stood on the porch every dawn, tin cup of coffee steaming, watching the sun paint the plains gold. Tom, 50, beard full white, hammered horseshoes in the forge behind the new barn, the clang ringing like church bells across the valley. Mary, 25, married to Daniel Hayes, son of the Laramie rancher, rode the range with her 2 boys. Caleb Jr., 6, and Jacob, 4. The original locket hung around Mary's neck, passed down with the story every bedtime. Caleb Jr. spoke before he walked. Jacob signed before he spoke. Lily taught them both. Grandma. Horse. Love. Dad. The boys ran wild, chased chickens till feathers flew, climbed hay bales like mountains, fell in the creek and came up laughing. Lily laughed with her whole body, hands flying, eyes crinkling. The ranch was 100 acres now. 2 barns, a windmill that spun steady, cattle branded, Nilsartur. Lily kept books in a thick ledger. Perfect columns, ink never smudged. Tom built furniture sold to Denver, rocking horses with real manes, cradles that sang when rocked, a church pew for Dust Creek's new chapel. Money came steady. They hired 2 hands, Mexican brothers, Juan and Mateo, fluent in sign, fast with rope. Every Sunday the family climbed the hill to the 3 graves. Lily brought wildflowers, lilies, always, told the story again. Grandpa paid $5 for a mute girl. Fate gave him a daughter. One word changed everything. Caleb Jr. asked, "Did she really say Dad?" Lily signed, "Yes." Spoke clear, loud as thunder. One fall, 1910, a letter came from Cheyenne. Jacob's old partner, dying in a jail cell. Confession on yellowed paper. Enclosed, a second locket. Inside, a boy. Caleb's eyes, Mary's chin, birthmark on the right cheek. Lily stared. Signed to Tom, twin brother. Tom read aloud. Jacob stole both babies. Sold Lily to Rufus. Kept the boy. Raised him as her Jack Thorne. Outlaw. Jack hanged in Montana. No heirs. Lily sat on the porch that night, 2 lockets in her palm. Mary joined her. "Mama, what now?" Lily signed, slow. "I had a brother. He never knew me." Mary hugged her. "You found family anyway." Winter came brutal. Snow to the eaves. Wind like knives. One night lightning, rare, deadly, struck the old cabin. Flames shot up the dry logs. Lily woke to heat, smoke choking. Tom shouted. She ran barefoot, nightgown catching fire at the hem. Family poured out. Mary carried Jacob. Daniel had Caleb Jr. Tom grabbed buckets. Lily kicked the frozen pump. Water finally flowed. Bucket line formed. Flames roared higher. Roof collapsed with a roar that shook the ground. Caleb Jr. pointed, signed frantic. "Grandma, the locket!" Lily saw it on the porch table, glowing orange. She ran. Heat blasted her face like an oven. Grabbed the locket, metal searing flesh. Dropped it in snow. Blisters rose instantly, white then red. The cabin burned to ash. Mary's quilt, Caleb's Bible, Lily's first slate, gone. But the locket survived, blackened but whole. They rebuilt bigger. Stone foundation, iron stove, glass windows from Denver. Lily's hands healed, scarred but strong. She carved above the new door. Thorn, built on love, not blood. Years rolled. Lily 60. Tom 65. Hair snow white, hands slower. Grandkids now 6. Caleb Jr.'s 3, Jacob's 2. The ranch a village. Barns, corrals, a schoolhouse Lily funded with furniture profits. She taught sign language to every child within 20 miles. Dust Creek renamed Sign Valley. One spring, Lily took sick. Cough that rattled like gravel. Doctor said lungs, too many fires, too much dust. She refused bed, kept writing, kept signing, kept laughing. Her last day, she sat on the porch at sunset, locket in scarred hand. Family gathered. Tom, Mary, Daniel, all grandkids in a circle. Sun dipped gold behind the mountains. She signed slow. Tell the story every year. Never forget. Mary nodded, tears falling. Lily looked at Caleb Jr., 16 now, tall as his namesake. Sign it on your turn. He knelt. She touched his face, whispered, voice rusty but clear. Dad. Closed her eyes, smiled, slipped away. The funeral filled the hill. 4 graves. Lily's stone, carved by Tom. Lily Thorne, Daughton, mother, voice of silence. Caleb Jr. spoke the story, first time for the youngest. Signed every word, passed the locket to his son. Sign Valley thrived. Ranch 1,000 acres. Museum in the old barn. Lily's slate, burned locket, Caleb's coat. School children came by wagon. Learned signs. Heard the story. Every Christmas the family gathers on the hill. Lights a lantern. Tells it again. He paid $5 for a mute girl. Fate gave him a daughter. One word changed everything. Outrow. Voiceover. Slow. Warm. If silence can speak love. Hit like. If family isn't blood, subscribe. Ring the bell for more Wild West tears. Next. $1 for a blind boy who saw ghosts.